This is the Natural Upgrade. My name is Steve Moreland. We are sponsored by Nature's Pure Blend. I am so excited today to introduce our guest. Dr. Elaine Gavalas is a board-certified natural medicine practitioner, international best-selling author, exercise scientist, yoga therapist, and founder of Galen Botanicals. She's been featured on the NBC Today Show, Martha Stewart Living Today, PBS, CNN, and numerous radio shows, magazines, and newspapers worldwide. Dr. Gavalas is conventionally trained with an advanced degree from Columbia University and a doctoral in natural and alternative medicine. Doctor, wow, that is a mouthful to talk about your amazing educational background, as well as how you have spent your entire life and career documenting and helping other people understand health and wellness and medicine. So please introduce yourself and tell us about some of your amazing ancestral roots and how you're going to give us some insights today on nitric oxide.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's great to be here with you. It started in early childhood, as we briefly talked about, with my family having a long history of practicing Greek traditional medicine, with its roots in Hippocrates, father of modern medicine and herbal medicine, and Galen, the great physician and writer, and Asclepius, the ancient Greek god of medicine. And my grandfather was a big influence on me. He was a Greek pharmacist and well known for his effective herbal traditional Greek remedies, which I had the privilege of watching throughout my childhood and learning Greek really well to try to understand what he's saying. I think I didn't speak that much English, but fortunately, my family was bilingual and my uncles filled in a lot of the gaps too. After that background, I went into conventional medicine and realized that herbal medicine really is an important part of health and wellness, and obtained my doctorate in natural and alternative medicine as a result. And all of this grew out of my early introduction to early medicine. And my earliest memories of nitric oxide, which I didn't know the name of it back as a kid, was my grandfather working with beetroot extract.
Wow.
And being an important part of his remedies that we now know beetroot is a very important source of nitrates for nitric oxide, but in Greek traditional medicine have been used for thousands of years for heart problems, wellness, encourage wellness, and longevity. And beets are a very important part of the Greek Mediterranean diet. So beets were a very important part of my childhood. So that was my earliest introduction, nitric oxide. And then my other one was as a young graduate student in exercise science at Columbia University. They were conducting research and studies on supplementation, food, and Arginine, Citrulline, on the exercise performance of elite athletes. And of course, now we know there's many studies showing that these nitrates, Arginine and Citrulline, of course, are amino acids derived from protein. And it wasn't until 1998, I believe, that it was official. Nitric oxide is an essential part of cardiovascular health when the Nobel Prize was awarded for its discovery and its purpose in heart health. So before then, there was extensive research that built up to that point of finally the official discovery. Greek traditional medicine knew that for thousands of years, that it was an important, very important part of health and longevity.
It's fantastic when you see science finally catch up. So you have the data now But
Yes.
when you were a grad student at Columbia, so what timeline was this? This is, I'm going to guess, before the 98 Nobel,
Yeah, yeah, right. Late early 90s.
early 90s. And like you said, we're now confirming with science what the Greek diet, the Mediterranean diet, that's now being credited as a blue zone. Since you actually were studying nitric oxide before anybody really knew what it was for sports performance, outside of elite athletes, obviously it had benefit for those individuals that were already at peak levels of performance. But let's take it into helping what I would call our standard American today that is enslaved by the American diet. And they are either already eating poorly, have been doing it for decades, maybe unconsciously, but now they're starting to see repercussions from the poor diet, from not moving enough, from the excess of stress that our modern world has also shackled us with. As a doctor, with your great background, how do you see this now that the Nobel Prize points at it and go, okay, that nitric oxide is a gas. It comes from these nitrates. You can consume them through beets and other types of vegetables. How do you help people and how do you tell them when you're one of the early individuals that was studying nitric oxide? How do you help us, doctor?
If you have high blood pressure, the force of the blood pushing against the artery walls is
Mhm.
too high, and the heart has to work harder to pump the blood.
Sure.
Nitric oxide, its purpose is to enlarge the arterial walls so more blood can pump through and the heart doesn't have to work as hard.
Okay.
Our nitric oxide levels plummet with age to the point of like 10% by the time you hit 70.
Okay.
So you're functioning with very little nitric oxide, which is, of course, going to cause cardiovascular heart health problems.
Mhm.
So, and other problems as well, erectile dysfunction,
Mhm.
immunity problems, and a whole slew of problems. And it's basically because nitric oxide is in every single cell of our body.
Really?
You're not producing it anymore. That's going to cause death,
Mm.
ultimately. And that's where the longevity part comes in. Back to the Greek traditional medicine,
Mhm.
it's an essential part of creating longevity is to have enough nitric oxide to function in a healthy way. So my best response would be bring your nitric oxide levels up properly
Sure.
so that you're in a good balance. And one of these ways would be through diet, like my grandfather would do with the beetroot and the beetroot extract and juicing, and or powdered beetroot that now in modern times, there's easy ways now through supplements that we can get this, as well as through arginine and citrulline, which are precursors to producing nitric oxide.
Mhm.
So there's convenient ways to get it now. And one way I don't know if you've ever heard of is also through yoga. It's been documented that yoga breathing exercises can increase nitric oxide and has been proven. And the question is how the acts of called pranayama in yoga is as you breathe through your nose, it activates nitric oxide production in your nasal cells. The
Wow.
vibration and volume of air coming through is resonating and activating nitric oxide production. And it's been actually studied that once certain pranayama breathing exercises are performed, the nitric oxide levels are very much increased.
Wow.
And one of them is called Bhramari hum, and it's humming, believe it or not, that can naturally increase your nitric oxide production.
We've talked about where do you get nitric oxide, and evidently, as we age and our cells get a little more lazy, just due to time, they stop producing as much. When we're younger, nitric oxide is produced in the body. And then as we get older, it starts decreasing. So, okay, how do we fix that? We can do some exercise. Then you could eat a better diet, obviously getting the types of beets and spinach and other types of vegetables that have nitrates in there that as we metabolize them become nitric oxide. And those are the methods that I have heard before. And then, of course, taking a supplement with the amino acid of arginine and citrulline that convert into nitric oxide. But because as we get older, we need such an increasing volume of it, you've now added a fifth option to everyone that for some reason, if you can't go outside and walk, if you can't get the vegetables that you need, or you're not feeling that you're getting enough supplementation and you want to increase it, then you can do some breathing exercises and stay on the couch, but be able to get this incredible gas that our bodies need to function. How incredible. Thank you.
Part of the issue, though, is that we have to have those precursors to even make the nitric oxide gas.
Okay.
So, again, yes, it's excellent to augment complementary augmentation
Mhm.
to really produce it naturally, but you've got to have those precursors to produce it.
Okay.
Got to have that arginine and citrulline. And if you're 70 years old, you may not. And no matter how much you're breathing, you may not be able to produce as much because you don't have the precursors to produce it with.
Got it. Okay.
So it all comes back to that. You have to have those precursor elements, whether it's through beets, nitrates, and or the amino acids.
I know you have written, I think, what did you say, 15 different books, and you have so much other content online, including some of these yoga type things that you can actually share. I'm going to take all of this content, doctor, and I'm going to put it all in the description, both on Spotify and on YouTube, so that everyone can have access to all of your links.
Many of the exercises I've described in my books are on YouTube for anyone to see for free.
You've got such a volume of solution and possibilities here to help people get back to a level of homeostasis to recover their health if they have lost it due to time or whatever. So, Doctor, I just wanted to say thank you for opening our minds and insights and giving us new pathways, places to explore. You've also educated us about how nitric oxide is really now the nucleus, it sounds like, for having good health, of maintaining good health, and then restoring good health. You're doing such an amazing job. Your grandfather would be so proud.
That's the ultimate compliment. Thank you.
Sure. Yes.